Welcome to the All Things Nintendo podcast. I'm Brian Shea from Game Informer, and this is a weekly podcast to discuss all the biggest news and games from the world of Nintendo. I started out last week saying that things are a little quiet on the news front, and then proceeded to have a really long news segment. But this week we actually do know that we have a decently long news segment, mostly surrounding Mario Day. We're going to talk about all that stuff. Then on the tail end, we are going to be pitching some ideas for what we'd like to see in the next Mario movie. Joining me for all that is Game Informer's Wesley LeBlanc. Wes, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing great. Long time no see here on this podcast.
It has been a little bit.
Every day.
You used to be on this podcast all the time. What happened to us, Wes?
I don't know. We drifted apart, ebb and flow, but we're back.
Yes, we are back. And as I mentioned at the top, it was Mario Day on Sunday, which again is a very silly thing because unlike Pokemon Day, which celebrates the anniversary of the first Pokemon game hitting Japan, Mario Day is just because MAR 10 looks like Mario.
Yeah. Today's Pi Day.
It's very N7. Yeah, we are recording this on Pi Day, 314. Happy Pi Day. But yeah, Mario Day. That is the more pressing issue at hand right now. We got some Mario news, and it didn't seem like it was going to be a whole lot because the video that they released, I think it was just over 2 minutes long. So pretty short, and most of it was taken up by one news story. But let's dive into some of this stuff. So first up, before that video even hit, LEGO decided to celebrate Mario Day on March 9th instead of March 10th, which, completely defeats the whole purpose of the day, but whatever.
Yeah.
They announced some Lego sets. They've had this the Super Mario Lego set for quite some time now. They've been slowly adding to it. They announced the Bowser Express Train, King Boo's Haunted Mansion, and the Battle with Roy at Peach's Castle sets. The Battle with Roy at Peach's Castle set is very random to me. Like, why Roy of all the Koopalings? Why? I don't know. It makes very little sense, but whatever. It's a sweet Peach's Castle set. The Bowser Express Train, okay, sure. King Boo's Haunted Mansion. I feel like we could have just called that Luigi's Mansion.
Yeah, that would be, that seems like a huge miss, especially given some of the other news we're going to talk about from Mario Day. They could have tied it into Luigi's Mansion.
So those are all coming out in August, and then LEGO also announced that there is a LEGO Super Mario Kart collection coming in 2025. We didn't really get any details about this. We just saw like a silhouette of a Mario Kart cart. And what do you think that the Mario Kart Legos could be? Is it just as simple as like, hey, here's like a cart with wheels that you can roll the Mario figure that already exists around?
I think it'll either be that, like something more simple, but I also think it could be something very premium because, to be honest, Lego is less of a toy these days and more of like a premium thing you play with.
Yeah.
I could see this being like almost like a build an RC car type thing where
oh wow, really?
They have like a little, it's a bot, like a square, and that has all the computer programming and all that stuff, and then you just attach Legos, hook up a controller, and it like does the thing. And I could see them charging like $200 for that, and people would buy it. I like Lego. My wife loves Lego, and we buy a lot for her to use. And it is just wild how expensive Lego gets. It's just crazy.
So I was thinking, I went a different direction with like kind of the premium set. So yes, it could just be like a cart that you build that has wheels that you can plug the existing Mario or Luigi or whatever figure into it, and then you can roll it around. Easy peasy.
Yeah.
But I went more Hot Wheels than RC car. Like you can build a Mario Kart, build a track, and then, ride them around the track. I think that would be a potential avenue for the Mario Kart set, but I have no idea because like I also didn't ever envision a world where we would get like specialized Lego figures that are not just like the minifigs that we've gotten since the dawn of time with Lego. They actually built a new like profile of figures for the Mario collection. So really like the sky is pretty, or the ceiling is pretty high up in the sky at this point. But
I feel like they haven't replicated the Mario ones either. Like that has the face that lights up and stuff.
Yeah, talks.
Yeah, like that's like I think Mario, maybe Sonic, I don't know, but I think Mario might be the only one that does that. So Nintendo definitely has a lot of pull with Lego, it seems, which makes sense if you're going to collaborate with Lego. I don't know if you can beat Mario other than maybe Pokemon, but I think Pokemon has its own like Lego
Yeah, they have
brand
like
thing it does, like Mega Blocks or something like that.
constructs. I don't know what
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
called, but I every time I see one of those Pokemon ones pop up, I'm like, oh, it would be cool to have like a Lego style Charizard on my shelf. But then I think about it and I'm like, no, it necessarily would not be
Yeah,
that cool.
yeah.
Um, I man, I don't know what it would take for me to get into the Mario Legos. Like they announced that giant Bowser one, and that looked really cool because you were actually building Bowser. It wasn't like a playset, you know.
Yeah. That one's like $300 or something, isn't it?
That's why I don't have it.
Yeah, it's every cool Lego set I see, I'm like, no, I can't do it. It's too much. Like I
Yeah.
want a lot of the Marvel ones get my attention. There's a Batman one coming out that's like it's almost looks like a portrait landscape of Batman the animated series, and it's like three
Oh
hundred
wow.
dollars. And I don't know. Like it's just I'm just not wanting to spend $300 on something I build once and then probably
Worry about
never
it
build
falling off
again.
the shelf and shattering every
God, yeah,
day.
that too. Yeah, like the Lord of the Rings set is like $600. What?
Ugh.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you could buy every amiibo that you want for that amount.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, I'm looking at my shelf right now and like what I have, and I have 12 compartments, and then also like on top of each of my display cases, I have three additional areas, and they're all themed. So I have like a Zelda block, I have two Sonic blocks, I have a Mario block, two Pokemon blocks, and so on and so forth. And I'm looking at all the amiibos that I have, and I'm trying to do like the math in my head of like, would all of the amiibos in my Zelda area, which is every single amiibo that Nintendo has put out in the Zelda series, if I put all those together, would it equal just the Bowser Lego collection or Lego set?
Maybe even less. I mean, I guess it depends with Amiibo, depending on when you bought them, they could have had a much higher price. But
I
at
mean,
$15 a pop,
I think every single one of them, aside from the Bokoblin one that I talked about when Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I was like, well, that's the only
yeah,
one I'm missing. I want to buy that one. And then, so I bought it from a scalper on eBay, and then like a week later, they're like, we're reissuing it. And I was like, why are you? Ugh. So,
classic.
sidebar, by the way, on this Mario that talks, this Lego figure that talks. Do you remember the most sinister thing that Lego did with that functionality?
I don't remember specifically, but I remember hearing about something that was spooky.
So Mario talks, right? He has all his little catchphrases and everything. There was a software update that they pushed to the Mario figure, which is very funny to think of a software update coming to a Lego
Yeah,
figure.
balance
But he's
patch.
this was before they announced that Luigi was coming as a figure that you could buy separate. Mario started crying for Luigi, like Luigi, Luigi, and it was just
Yeah,
like,
that's
wow, that's
terrifying.
really, really playing on kids and them being like, oh, well, we should have Luigi now. It's like, oh, come on. That's a built in advertisement to guilt trip kids into buying a Luigi figure, or more appropriately, pestering their parents to buy a
Yeah,
Luigi figure.
it's funny too, because like for us, like we get how they would update something and why, like how that technology would work. But like if you were just a parent who bought Legos for your kids because they like Mario and you didn't play games or understand updates, it'd be pretty scary to all of a sudden this toy you bought your kid is now doing new things and saying stuff it was not advertised to say. Like I could have seen my mom like not being okay with that growing
Your
up.
mom smashing it with a hammer.
Yeah,
It's
like we need to
alive.
get this out of our house.
It's like Toy Story. They come to
Yeah,
life.
that's
Uh,
scary.
so we got other Mario related announcements, and we got two very quick hit announcements at the tail end of the Nintendo issued thing that actually came out on Mario Day, starring Shigeru Miyamoto, but he did not stick around for these announcements. These were just really, really fast, like stingers at the almost post credit scenes, if you will. Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. I'm assuming it's just being considered a remaster, coming to Switch May 23rd. We know that now. And then the other one was Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, coming June 27th. And we didn't really get any additional information, though we did get some new screenshots, and we also got the box art for both of these games. Are you going to be diving into either of these? Did you play either of the original?
I did not know. Thousand Year Door, I'm definitely going to play because one of my best friends, it's like his favorite Nintendo game, one of them at least. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people love that game. It's like highly regarded, and it feels like one I need to play just for like gaming history's sake. I've actually never played a Paper Mario, so it'll be my first. And then Luigi's Mansion 2, I did not play. I like 1 and 3. I just didn't play 2 because it was on 3DS, and I don't know, I wasn't playing my 3DS much at that point.
Sure.
But I'm excited. It's interesting that they are just completely dropping the Dark Moon branding, right?
That
Like
was
this is
strange,
just
right?
yeah, this is just Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, which I mean, I guess makes sense. The subtitle does kind of throw it off now that we have a Luigi's Mansion 3 with no subtitle, but yeah, I'm excited. I don't hear anyone talk about the second Luigi's Mansion, so I honestly have no idea what to expect. But yeah, I'll check it out.
I believe Game Informer gave it an 8.5 when it came out, so pretty high score. And it
Yeah,
seemed
that's
like the
great.
Metacritic, I think, was like 83. So it's a well regarded title. But yeah, it did kind of fly under the radar since it was on 3DS instead of a console.
I wonder if it loses some of its what people like about it by transitioning from a 3DS to a I guess like remastered ish version on Switch. Like a 3DS was a very unique console and with a very unique visual style, and it controls differently because it's a handheld. I wonder if like would we lose anything by just having like a Switch port basically.
I don't know, because I think that a lot of those 3DS games, unless they were like Super Mario 3D Land, where it like specifically had like those 3D puzzles that you almost needed like that artificial depth
Yeah.
to kind of solve some of them. I don't know that a whole lot is like if they brought a Link Between Worlds to Switch, I would be losing my mind because that's one of my favorite Zelda games. But I don't know, like Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. By the way, it should be called Luigi's Mansion 2 Dark Moon HD if we
Yeah.
really wanted to stick branding front and center. I don't know. It seems very strange to be like, oh yeah, this Luigi's Mansion 2. Let me Google what that's about, and then there's just no Luigi's Mansion 2.
Yeah, it's weird, but Nintendo doing Nintendo things.
Yeah, I think that I'm definitely gonna check out both of these because I also missed both of these games. But I've heard Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door is phenomenal, and I've also never played like a Paper Mario RPG. Anyway, I played Super Paper Mario, which was more of a perspective changing puzzle platformer, though more on the platforming side, I think.
Yeah.
That was on Wii, if I'm not mistaken. We also got 3 new additions to the Game Boy library on Nintendo Switch Online: Dr. Mario from Game Boy, Mario Golf from Game Boy Color, and Mario Tennis from Game Boy Color. Any history with any of these?
No, actually, I my only history with the Mario sport game of this era was on Game Boy. I had Mario Baseball, I think, or whatever
Okay.
it was called. And funny enough, I actually, I just this just kind of popped into my head. I forgot about this until this very moment. I went to a GameStop and I went to trade it in because I was very silly, and my parents didn't really care about gaming, so they didn't understand why I shouldn't be trading in things like an SNES and a Game Boy and the like. And I went to trade it in, and they told me how much I would get for it. And 2 employees at GameStop told me they would like to buy it for more than what GameStop was offering. Hopefully, nobody gets in trouble for this. This was like more than probably 2 decades ago.
Yeah, those
So
people do
they
not work at
yeah.
GameStop anymore, I
So
would
they
venture.
like in a live way bid on it. And he was like, I'll give you 20, I'll give you 25, I'll give you 30. And like I ended up making like 40, $50 on it if I remember. Whereas GameStop I think was going to give me like not that much. Yeah, I just remember that. That's crazy. But that's my only history with Mario sports of that old school era.
Sparking a bidding war, probably a forbidden bidding war
Just certainly, yeah,
among.
certainly.
I've had that happen as well, where I think they like I went to go trade in a game, and it was like $7.50, and the guy was like, "I'll give you 15 for it," like literally doubling the value, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's like,
"Sold."
yep, take it. See you out back.
Yeah. So all 3 of those are available now on a standard Nintendo Switch Online subscription. The one that I think that people should definitely keep an eye on. I mean, Dr. Mario is obviously a classic. Is there another version of Dr. Mario on Switch Online?
I don't think so.
Let me look this up. I
I
mean,
feel like
is
the
the
only
NES version on
oh,
Switch
you know what?
Online?
It might be.
I don't know because the Wikipedia page is not telling me anything. Wait. Yes, the NES version was put on Switch Online in 2018, and then the Game Boy version is joining now. But Dr. Mario, classic title. If you're looking for a Game Boy specific, though, Mario Golf is the one to check out because that is the one that had the RPG style, like single player mode that the rest of the series has been chasing ever since. Like the Switch version of
Yeah.
Mario Golf tried to do it and kind of fell short. The Mario Golf on Game Boy Color is maybe the best Mario Golf game, even
Whoa.
with its technical limitations. I think in its simplicity, it delivers fantastic gameplay, and then in its structure, delivers an amazing, like kind of like RPG style golf. I don't know if you really want to call it a story mode as much as it's just like a single player golf mode.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mario Golf on Game Boy Color, fantastic. Mario Tennis on Game Boy Color, also very good. But Mario Golf is like the one that every time they announce a new Mario Golf game, everybody's like, just do what you did on Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they have kind of
Not.
failed to do that ever since. But at least they tried with the Switch version. It just wasn't a very good single player RPG style mode.
Yeah.
And then finally, Wes, the biggest news. This is the one that Shigeru Miyamoto devoted the 95% of the Mario Day YouTube video to. We got an announcement that Nintendo and their good pals at Illumination have begun work on a second movie set in the Super Mario Brothers world, which is similar to the phrasing they used because they didn't call it a sequel. They didn't really give us any information. They just said a second movie set in the world of Super Mario Brothers. We did get a little bit of detail though. Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic, the directors of the first one, are returning for this one as well. So that's good news. They
Nice.
did a good job
Yeah.
with the first one. And then here's a direct quote from Shigeru Miyamoto. He said, quote, as for the details of the new movie, as I often say, we'll let you know once we're at the stage where we're ready to share more. This time we're thinking about broadening Mario's world further, and it'll have a bright and fun story. We hope you'll look forward to it. And then we also learned that the movie is going to hit theaters on April 3rd, 2026. So about, actually almost exactly 3 years after the first Super Mario Brothers movie, which I believe was April 5th, 2023. But we're going to dive into this news story a whole lot more in the main segment. But how did you react to this news when it first came across the screen on Sunday?
I was so shocked. I could not believe it, Brian. It was the wildest news I've ever heard.
Billion
No.
dollar movie, $1.3 billion,
Yeah.
getting a sequel or a spinoff or something. Yeah, that's not exactly shocking.
I'm actually surprised it took this long, but I guess they probably just wanted to wait till Mario Day. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, there might be stuff to glean from that quote. I don't know, maybe the word bright, Super Mario Sunshine or something. But I don't know. I think he's just saying we're making another Mario movie, and it's going to be another Mario movie. Like the first Mario movie was bright and fun and filled with joy. So I'm not expecting anything different from this sequel, or maybe it's not a sequel and it's like a Donkey Kong movie or something. I don't know. But sounds like they have another hit on their hands. And with a 3-year timeline, it sounds like they immediately got to work on it after that first one crushed the box office last year.
And have they given us a release window? I know we covered this on the show. Have they given us a release window for the Zelda movie? Or is it just
No,
announced that they're working with Avi Arad for it?
yeah, they're just it's just in development. I mean, he's currently working on the new Planet of the Apes movie. I forget what it's called, Rise of the, or no, that's, I don't know, whatever that new Planet of the Apes movie. He's directing that, so I imagine he's still busy with that. I bet Zelda's probably at minimum 3 years away.
Yeah, I would imagine that Mario movie has a foundation. They already have a lot of the models and everything. They have
Yeah,
a lot of the casting done. But I would say that this probably comes out at least a year, or if not more, before the Zelda movie.
yeah, I
So
think
that,
so.
especially
Yeah,
as it's animated, I would think that's not saying animation is easy, but they have the foundation with the character models. They have a lot of the set pieces and settings and everything already built. You would think that they would be able to get kind of animated. They said that right now they're working on the storyboarding, and I think some of like the earliest animation is being put into place, like just some of the basic like stuff to set some of the scenes. So they are still very early in the process. Like the story's not even fully done, which is why our main segment is going to be all about pitching what we want to see
Ooh,
from the next Mario movie. So we're going to move on, but we're going to circle back to the Mario movie in the main segment here. All right, Wes. So the Strong National Museum of Play. You familiar with this museum?
I'm not actually, but
It is,
I've recently read about it.
I believe it was established in 2014 or 2015. It's in Rochester, New York. So you're an East Coast guy. Go visit it. It's not that
Yeah, I
far
should
from
next time in New
Florida,
York.
but Rochester, New York, not New York City. It has announced its 2024 candidates for the World Video Game Hall of Fame. So the Video Game Hall of Fame's been inducting classes every year since 2015. Nintendo games that are already included in the Hall of Fame are Wii Sports, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Tetris, Super Mario Brothers, Animal Crossing, Super Mario Kart, and Pokemon Red and Green. So I think it's like four, maybe or like 3 or 4 games that get inducted every year. So that's a pretty strong stable already for a thing
Yeah,
that's only been around for 9 years.
is it the first Animal Crossing, the Japan exclusive one?
Yeah. Well, no,
Huh.
the one on GameCube.
Oh, okay, okay,
So yeah, the first one in that sense.
gotcha.
The candidates this time around, there's a couple that are related to Nintendo here, but one that is a actual Nintendo game. So we have in alphabetical order: Asteroids, Elite, Guitar Hero, Metroid, Myst, Neopets, which stuck out to me a little bit, which that's
Yeah,
fun.
interesting.
Resident Evil, Sim City, Tokimeki Memorial, which I'm not familiar with, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Ultimate or Ultima, and You Don't Know Jack. So people can vote
Okay,
one time per day at the Strong National Museum of Play website. Voting goes from March 14th to the 21st. Public voting is a single member of the committee. So whatever the top 3 games are from these votes, will serve as the votes for a single stand-in member of this committee that is actually in totality going to determine who wins. Um,
how many did they
so
induct? They induct 4.
I think 3, if I'm not mistaken. It's so the top 3 voted games in this will get votes by the single member, and those votes will go up with the other votes of the other committee members.
Huh.
So what are
Um,
your votes? If you're going to this website, what are your votes? So we got Asteroids, Elite, Guitar Hero, Metroid, Myst, Neopets, Resident Evil, SimCity, Tokimeki Memorial, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Ultima, and You Don't Know Jack.
Definitely Metroid. Because of its legacy. It's a great game, and it helped spawn a very big part of what gaming is today. I also think Guitar Hero, although Guitar Hero massive legacy doesn't really live on today, unfortunately. Um, but I think that game is up there with the greats in terms of like Fortnite, Minecraft games that like the entire world played and could not ignore.
I mean, it's in the same category of Wii Sports, which Wii Sports is already in the Hall of Fame.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it was like it's just everyone played it. Like that's a game I played with my parents growing up. Like my dad loved Guitar Hero, and that's one of the only games we played together because he didn't really game, but he
I mean,
liked that game.
it's one of the very few video games to get a dedicated South Park episode.
Oh my god, yeah, yes,
Like it's like Pokemon, World of Warcraft. I don't know if they've done any more recent ones. I'm assuming they've done a Fortnite one at some point.
God, yeah, they had to have.
I
I
haven't
haven't kept
caught
up
up.
with
Yeah, I haven't kept
them
up with like
forever.
South Park in probably a decade at this point. But I remember the World of Warcraft one was huge. They actually did the entire like a lot of the episode in Warcraft, which was
Yes, yeah,
insane. But yeah, the
that
Guitar
was.
Hero episode was fun.
What's the list again?
Of the candidates,
Yes,
so
yeah.
Asteroids, Elite, Guitar Hero, Metroid, Myst, Neopets, Resident Evil, SimCity, Tokimeki Memorial, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Ultima, and You Don't Know Jack.
I'll go with Resident Evil. Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Resident Evil is Resident Evil. It's an amazing game still today.
Yeah.
I think it is very special to Capcom's legacy in general and a lot of the types of games we play today. And I like that it's like newer. I mean, games like Asteroid and stuff probably deserve a place in a Hall of Fame, but I don't know. Like I feel like just because it's an older game and like groundbreaking in that way doesn't necessarily mean it deserves a spot over something like Resident Evil. I think like Resident Evil's DNA is in so much of what we play today, um, in terms of action, in terms of horror, in terms of shooting, and what it ended up inspiring, which is like a whole series that people love that has also inspired other series. So yeah, I think I'd give it to Resident Evil. Also, I looked up Tokimeki Memorial. It's a dating sim by Konami.
Hell
So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know anything
So
about
that
it,
gets
but
my vote.
not for me. Yeah. Yeah, you're a
No,
big dating sim guy.
I mean, if you count Persona
True, true.
or Final Fantasy VII Rebirth for that matter, which I just finished
Yeah.
last night, we should talk.
Ooh, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I actually am going to do the same votes here. I think Metroid, for all the reasons you said, helped establish like one of the most prominent genres, especially in indie development, but also like in, one of the biggest games of this year, which we're going to be talking a little bit about that. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is a Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Guitar Hero. I mean, I used to play Guitar Hero competitively, so I have a soft spot in my heart for that.
Really? Whoa.
Yeah, back when I was in college, I
I
would
did
go to
not know that.
tournaments in the East Coast of Maryland and take those those companies or whatever for all their worth, because they would hold these tournaments and they would have like gift cards or cash prizes or whatever, and I would just go in and win them. There was a stretch where I would go to midnight releases of Guitar Hero games, and they would be like, okay, well, we're going to have a tournament starting at like 11, and whoever wins gets the game for free. So there was
Oh
a
my God.
period where I didn't pay for Guitar Hero for like 2 or 3 years. And of course, those were the years, so they were all coming out. Like they were like
Yeah,
putting out like
yeah.
2 or 3 or 4 games a year. So same thing for Rock Band. I would go and, I mean, same thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Same
That's amazing.
skill set.
What was your favorite Guitar Hero release? Mine was Aerosmith. I don't know why. Like I loved the guitar that came with it, and it kind of just turned me into a big Aerosmith fan. And yeah, I just have fond memories of that game.
I mean, the band specific ones were tough to stack against the more broad
Yeah, that's fair.
entries. I think that Guitar Hero 2 is always going to be my favorite one.
Yeah.
And that's because that was the one that got me into it. I remember like I was not going to buy Guitar Hero. My partner at the time talked me out of it because you had to buy like a special guitar, special controller just to play one game. And she was like, why are you going to spend your money on that? Like, that's such an expensive thing for just one game. And I was like, yeah, I guess you're right. And then my parents surprised me by getting it for me for, I guess it was Easter. Like, they surprised me. They're like, hey, Guitar Hero 2 for Xbox 360. And I was like, all right, I guess this is my personality now.
Yeah.
And I played it religiously. I skipped the chance to meet Taylor Swift to play Guitar Hero.
Oh wow.
Did not know who Taylor Swift would go on to become. She
Yeah, that would have been 2006. So that was like
2007. So yeah, this
2007.
was
So before she even, that was like right when she blew up, I guess, or
yeah, this
not
was
blew
when
up, but
my then partner was like, "Oh, I want to go see this young country singer that is coming to play in our basketball gym. Do you want to go with me?" And I was like, she's like, "I can just as easily make it like a girls' night." And I'm like, "Yeah, why don't you do that? I don't really like country music, and I don't need to see like this one hit wonder that's coming." She has like a song that was like kind of popular on the radio at the time.
you
And
said
then
no. I need
like,
to play Beast and the Harlot on Expert 100%.
hey, I don't even know if I was playing on expert at that point. And
Yeah.
then afterwards, she's like, "Oh my god, it was a great show." She stayed after, took pictures with everyone. She signed my hat that I brought, and I was like, "Oh, that's cool, great." I'm sure that will be worthless. And then
And,
fast
yeah.
forward like 2 or 3 years, and she's the biggest pop star on the planet.
And
So
now Guitar Hero doesn't exist.
yeah, I mean, maybe I made up for it with those tournament wins that I got, but it would have been cool to have a picture with
Sure.
Taylor Swift. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I'm gonna say Metroid, Guitar Hero, and Resident Evil as well, even though it hurts me not to vote for SimCity or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
What is that Tony Hawk Pro Ultima, or is Ultima separate from Tony Hawk Pro Skater?
That's separate.
Oh,
Let me
okay. Okay, gotcha. I was like, I don't know what a Tony Hawk Ultima is, but I see now. Ultima is probably that sounds familiar.
Yes. So let me see here. Yeah. So it is, according to this. I mean, it's a world famous RPG. It completely revolutionized computer RPGs at the time. But I didn't realize it was released in 1981. Wow.
Whoa,
I
that's
didn't
like
realize it was that old. I thought it was mid 80s, not early 80s. But
Dang,
yeah,
that's like
I got into
trailblazer.
RPGs pretty late in life, so I never played Ultima.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, you can go to the Strong National Museum of Play website from today all the way to March 21st to vote. I cast my first vote for Metroid. You can go once per day, and then the top three will end up getting votes in this category. So we'll move on. Sea of Stars, Wes. You know it. You love it.
Yeah.
Sabotage, the studio behind it, and first of all, huge milestone. It surpassed 5 million players. That is amazing for an indie game, especially.
Yeah, it's incredible.
And in celebration, they announced Single Player Plus, which is a 3-player couch co-op mode, which I guess means not single player. But
Yeah, it's a cool name.
you covered this for us, right?
Yes, yeah. It's yeah, they kind of teased it. It's less of a full reveal. I mean, they gave us the name and stuff and kind of teased how it works. There's going to be all new traversal and combat mechanics, which if you've played the game, you know combat is very unique in that you have to like time your attacks. So I assume you and your two other players are going to have to do some like fun rhythm timing with each other or something. I don't know. It sounds cool. But yeah, I'm excited. I kind of wish this came at launch, to be honest, because it's not necessarily the type of game I'm like itching to go back through just because it's a single player RPG.
Yeah.
Um, and like this is something I'd want to start from the beginning with. But it is really cool that it's happening and very unique for the genre in general. Like I can't think of anything off the top of my head that's a traditional like turn-based RPG where you can play with two friends at the same time. It's very cool.
So you have beaten Sea of Stars, correct?
Yes, yeah, one of my favorite games last year. I think it was in my top 10.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I still need to devote time to it. There's been a lot of RPGs lately, and
Yeah, yeah.
I've
It's
only
you
gotten
can
through
take
two of
solace
them.
in the fact that it's like a 20 to 25 hour RPG, not a Persona 3 Reload or a Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
I do need to go. I think that was the one I was thinking about going back to after finishing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. You know, because I reviewed Persona 3 Reload, but I was like, man, Sea of Stars. I have that on the go. I'm about to hop on a plane that crosses an ocean, so it might be one that's worth starting. But we'll see. That we do we have an indication of when it's coming?
This year, but we
Okay.
don't know anything else beyond that.
All right.
They're
Well,
also working on Throes of the Watchmaker, which is a DLC, like a big expansion for the game. So I would hope that they'd kind of time it around that, but I also don't know if that DLC is going to include single player plus. I think that'd be the smart call though, because I'm not necessarily interested in going back through the base game with three players, but if the DLC had it, that might be an avenue. I would do 3 player.
maybe I just wait for the DLC at this point because I don't know. Like I don't see myself going through the game, stopping, being like, okay, cool, I beat that game, and then going back for more DLC down the road. Like Sea of Stars, as beautiful and as charming as it seems like a one and done game for me, where I play through it once
Yeah.
and think like, okay, that was a great game. I'm glad I played it. Never again.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I love the game. I don't replay games often, so it's not like a indictment of Sea of Stars, but I'm with you. It's not something I'm like
Yeah,
itching to replay ever.
it pretty much has to be one of my favorite games of all time, or a an entry that precedes a story heavy game. Like I think that when the third part of the Final Fantasy VII remake trilogy comes out, I will probably try to make a point to play through Final Fantasy VII remake and rebirth, even on
Wow.
easy mode, just to get through it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
just to like refresh my memory, or maybe I'll just do what I've done on a couple other occasions and watch YouTube recaps.
I always get nervous replaying, like in that instance, like I thought about replaying remake before rebirth, but I was just nervous about getting burned out on the gameplay because
Yeah, that
it's
makes
like it's
sense.
the same type of thing. But like, yeah, if you time it right, if we know Final Fantasy remake part 3 is coming out in like 2026 or something, maybe you play remake in the first half of 2025 and rebirth in the second half. That's kind of
Yeah.
how I try to approach it. Like I'm going to do that with Death Stranding. I think I'm going to try to play that towards the end of this year ahead of two's release next year. But I
Have you
do get
played Death
nervous
Stranding
with
before?
gameplay. Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite games. I'm a Death Stranding believer. I understand why people don't like it, and I do think it's the type of game that has to work for you to really hit. But I think if you're in that camp, it's really special. I love it. It's great.
Yeah, that was one that I kind of bounced off a little bit, but there were parts that I was like, "Oh, I could see this like really clicking with me." I just don't think I really gave it a chance to click for me.
Yeah, there's yeah, it's just It's a very different game. There's one chapter that is tough to get through because it's so long, but and weirdly after that things really start rolling, which is unfortunate. But I do think it's worth playing, even if you don't necessarily like it. It's just such a unique game that like we all kind of owe it to ourselves to. I mean, how often do we get to play something that's like completely different and new? I don't know. Um, Death Stranding rules. I could talk about it forever. Sorry, it's not on Switch.
Well, Sea of Stars is on Switch right now, and this other game that is another title that you love to death and is getting post-launch content, Wes. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown.
Let's go. Yes.
Ubisoft gave us a post-launch roadmap for its very successful Metroidvania, as we talked about in the Hall of Fame discussion. This month on the 20th, we're getting speedrun mode, permadeath mode, and new outfits for Sargon. In spring, we're getting boss rush mode and new outfits for Sargon. In summer, we're getting new combat, platforming, and puzzle challenges, new amulets, and you guessed it, new outfits for Sargon. And then in late 2024, we are getting new story DLC. And all of it is free aside from the story DLC.
Yeah.
So is Lost Crown still in your Game of the Year slot for this year?
I think so. Yeah, it's definitely up there. I mean, the only other game that would get close is Rebirth, which I gave an 8.5 and I gave Prince of Persia a 9.5. But like, I don't know, when I get to the end of the year, who knows? But Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is, yeah, fantastic game. One of the best Metroidvanias ever made, in my opinion. And this is awesome that they're supporting it. Did not expect them to support it post launch at all, to be honest, just because it's like a smaller game and we don't know sales for this game necessarily. Like we know Ubisoft's happy, but I don't know. Did it sell 1 million copies? Did it sell 5 million? So I'm very shocked to see that it's getting this much support, but I am so here for it. And I don't know if I will necessarily play the story DLC in terms of time, but like I'm going to pay for it regardless. Like I want Ubisoft to know that like I support this type of game. I support this type of roadmap. Like for all of Ubisoft's problems, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is not one of them. Like do more of this, and I will be there to support Ubisoft.
Yeah, it's refreshing to see a major publisher put out a game like this and then also support it, hopefully indicating that it's a successful release for them. So
Yeah, and no season pass, no like any nonsense that Ubisoft really likes in a lot of its other games. This is just like a clean cut. Here's some free stuff. Enjoy it this year. And presumably later this year, you're going to play through more story that maybe you paid 10, 20, $30 for.
yeah, so that's the roadmap for 2024 for Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Last week, Wes, you were not on the show, but I talked about Yuzu. Did you follow the story around that?
I did. Yes. Yeah.
So it was a Switch emulator that was shut down after Nintendo threatened legal action. They ended up paying, I think, $2.4 million, basically nuking all presence of their websites, Discord servers, source code, everything off of the internet. And I'm reading this over on NintendoLife.com, which pulls this story from Ars Technica. So now that Yuzu is gone, another team has brought up a Switch emulator called Suyu, which is built from the Yuzu source code, and it's not released yet. But the team in this article on Ars Technica is saying they're hoping to avoid Nintendo's wrath by existing in a, quote, legal gray area. And the way that they say that they exist in this legal gray area is they're actively discouraging piracy, they're not making any money off of it, and they're not providing step-by-step guides on how to pirate games. And I posted this on Twitter where I was just like, this headline looks like part one of one of those a story in two parts where it's like, we're
Yeah.
hoping to avoid Nintendo's wrath. And
Good
all I
luck.
say to
Good
that
luck.
is, in future news, Suyu is shut down.
Yeah. Yeah. I did when the Yuzu stuff happened, I did see a lot of sentiment that was like, Nintendo's definitely, I mean, they do a lot of these shutdowns in part with like fear tactics. Like they are trying to discourage people, but Yuzu is open source. So theoretically, a Yuzu like emulator could pop up to the end of time because that code is out there. And if one goes down, someone else can create it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Nintendo's lawyers are going to be busy. I do wonder how that legal gray area works
Well,
because I don't think creating an emulator is illegal. It's when you start to charge for it and advertise services for it and all that. So it'll be interesting to follow and see how this team supposedly gets around it.
All I'm saying is I'm no legal expert, but Nintendo's lawyers are real good at finding the black and white in those legal gray areas.
Yes, they are. Did you there was a piece, I think it was Steven Totillo, who has his own like Substack newsletter now. I think he's independent.
Yeah.
It might have been somebody else. He interviewed a former Pokemon chief lawyer, and he was basically like, does like when press covers emulators and stuff and like fan projects, does that like help you? And this is the Pokemon company, not Nintendo, notably. Does that help you like find who to go after? And he was straight up like, yeah, sometimes we don't know these fan projects exist or these emulators exist, and then we see a story on it, and somebody emails us the story or a link to it, and we get to work. And I was, yeah, it was kind of Stephen Totillo talking with that lawyer about covering things as press, and that's kind of like a joke sometimes. I've seen before, like, oh, press covered your like fan project or your emulator. It's not going to last too long now. Um, Interesting story. Go read it for sure if you're interested. It was enlightening and funny to hear a lawyer be like, "Yeah, we see the stories too, and we take those into account."
Yeah, I think the most notable one is another Metroid 2 remake, which famously
Yeah,
was shut down, I think, months before Nintendo announced Metroid Samus Returns or Metroid 2 Samus Returns on 3DS. So, I
yes,
mean,
yeah.
I
I
think,
think. I mean, I'm not saying press shouldn't cover, like, we shouldn't cover fan projects and emulators. I think if you're making a fan project or an emulator, you need to know the consequences involved with doing something that's not your IP. But it was, yeah, just as someone in the press who does stories, it was funny to read a lawyer be like, yeah, we're not like in the trenches of gaming like you guys are sometimes. So if we do see a story pop up, sometimes that tells us where we need to go.
yeah, I mean, it's not surprising. I feel like whenever an outlet covers one of those, everybody's just like, shh.
Yeah, yeah, especially for like the emulator stuff. Fan projects, I think, get a little more leeway. That lawyer was saying it's really when they start to charge money that they have to get involved.
Yeah, which was the
And
big problem with Yuzu. They were like making like
yes,
$20,000 a month on Patreon or something like that.
exactly. And it's the problem with the Bowser guy that's in jail. I
Gary
forget his
Bowser.
name. Yeah, like they were charging a lot of money, and I mean that's a whole different can of worms. But yeah, if you're doing something in the legal gray area, step one is definitely don't charge money for it. Like you're just asking to for a takedown at that point.
Yeah. So we'll move on from the emulation now. We'll end the news segment on this. We now know the dates of Summer Game Fest 2024.
Yeah.
So the stream is going to take place at the YouTube Theater in Los Angeles on June 8th, with public tickets available for sale starting on May 7th. And there's also going to be a SGF edition of Day of the Devs that same day. There will also be the Summer Game Fest Play Days that will happen the 3 days following the event, which 3 days instead of 2 days this time around, which I think is a good move. There was a lot of stuff last year that I didn't get to see. And that is going to be
Yeah.
exclusive to influencers and press to be able to get their hands on some of the games that are shown. So how do you feel about that?
I'm excited. I went to SGF for the first time last year and I loved it. I could have used another day, I think. So I think the 3 days for the event is nice. Notably, with the stream, it's on a Friday this year. And then the press and influencer days in town in LA is Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Hmm.
I want to say last year was the stream, and every year before, I think the stream was on a Thursday. And then Friday, Saturday, press, Sunday is a not an SGF day, but that's when a lot of other companies do stuff. I think maybe Microsoft did their stuff on Sunday last year, but so that's interesting. I don't think that change necessarily means anything. I think if you're someone at home, tuning into SGF stuff, it kind of makes for a nice weekend. Like Friday night, tune in, watch the stream, and then Saturday and Sunday, all your favorite, writers and stuff are going to be talking about these games they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool. It kind of reminds me of E3 back in the day. I don't remember when, but I remember when like Saturday and Sunday were the big days for E3. I think Nintendo did Monday, PlayStation did Sunday, and like Microsoft and Bethesda did Saturday. And I loved that it was a weekend event for me. So I don't know, maybe SGF is kind of angling itself towards being like a weekend premiere event.
Yeah, and I think like
Nonetheless, I'm excited.
E3 itself, I think, opened its doors, like the conference hall. I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
Because I remember like Thursday night was like the final night that everybody got to hang out, and it was like, oh no, you're leaving. And then a lot of people would go to like Disneyland on Friday, which I never tagged along for those, unfortunately. But yeah, it's good to have another 3 day thing, especially now that E3 is officially no more, even though it hasn't been around since pre-pandemic. But do you think Jeff Keighley steps up his game even more now that one, there's more time on the play days, and two, there's no chance of an E3 coming in?
I think the stream for sure will be stepped up. Because like this is the time to strike. Like E3 is officially finally canceled, even though it was basically canceled and gone all these years before. But like this is the first moment where he has no worry of E3 coming back or raining on his
Taking
parade.
his
So
announcements.
exactly. So like go big and prove like, hey, SGF, we are the new E3. Like it's this is our moment now. For the press days, I wonder if it'll be because you've been pretty much every year. It's like been in the same area, right? Every time.
Yeah, they had that space it's kind of out of the way
Yeah,
for
it's in like a
the play
random part of
days.
town.
Yeah.
But it seemed maxed out last year when I was there. Like I didn't
Well,
see more space.
they expanded it greatly this year, like or the last
Oh,
year.
really?
Like it was at least, I mean, before it was not that like cuz this is very inside baseball here, but like it was like one room basically. Like I don't know if you remember the room that
Oh,
had like the bar in it.
yeah, yeah.
That was it for SGF 2 years ago.
Okay, so they
And
added like
last
three
year
more
they took
buildings
over the
basically.
entire park. Like it was like
Yeah.
a area. So yeah, I don't know if they can really expand more. I mean, there were some indoor areas that I don't think were fully utilized.
I mean, that whole building, there was a whole building that just Bandai and Namco used for Armored Core
Yeah,
and
there's like
maybe Sandland. So,
an
like,
underground tour that you had to take.
yeah, like they could use that. I mean, if that is not sold, if that's not one or two games taking up that spot, that could probably be 5 to 10 if you did it right.
Or does Jeff
Um,
just go for E3 and get the LA Convention Center?
oh my God, that would be,
I think that's too much space.
yeah, we'd need to
I mean,
announce that soon because, like, that's going to change so many people's plans for approaching this event. That's like a different beast.
there are multiple halls in the LA Convention Center, so you could just rent one hall. But I feel like the LA Convention Center was unwieldy because it was so expensive. So I don't think I mean, that's why all of the publishers were leaving E3 and doing their own thing just in LA that same weekend or that same week,
Yeah.
because E3 would rent out all this space at the LA Convention Center and then they would charge the publishers to have their space. And the publishers were like, well, why are we paying all this money when we could just exist in LA Live, which is like, connected to the LA Convention Center for a fraction of the price, and people can just walk across the street and see our stuff. Like that's what EA did. That's what Microsoft did near the tail end there. So
You just do what Devolver did and have it in the parking lot.
yeah, Devolver just had like a barbecue in the parking lot. They were like the pioneers of that, of like not having a presence on the show floor and just doing something adjacent to the LA Convention Center. But we'll see what ends up happening with this. But he is doing a new venue, the YouTube Theater in Los Angeles. I think is not where they had it last year. Didn't they have it at like SoFi Stadium, like all the way out by the airport last year? The actual stream.
I'm actually not sure, to be honest, now that
Because
you
I
mention
remember
it.
we were originally looking at booking our flights out, our hotel out there, and I'm like, no, 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 that's a bad idea because that's just the stream. That is not like the actual thing. We're going to be taking like $50 Ubers each way if we have to,
$50.
if we're
Well,
lucky.
probably more
Yeah.
like 80, I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. So YouTube Theater's in Hollywood, so that is a much better location for that, I think.
Yeah.
But Wes, we're going to take our first break, and when we return, we're going to be pitching some ideas for the next Super Mario Brothers movie. We will be right back. We talked about the Mario Day announcements during today's news segment, but there was one in particular that I thought would be fun to drill down into. As we already covered, Nintendo and Illumination announced a new movie set in the world of Super Mario Brothers, in the works now for a 2026 release. So I thought it would be fun to get into what we thought we would like to see from it, or at least some ideas for the direction that the new movie could take. Notably, as I said in the news segment, the announcement did not call the movie Super Mario Brothers Movie 2 or even refer to it as a sequel, so it could be anything. So first up, let's set the table here, Wes. Here's where Super Mario Brothers Movie left us at the end, okay? Mario and Luigi are apparently living in the Mushroom Kingdom among all the Toads now, but are also already respected by everyone in Brooklyn because they saved the borough from Bowser when he invaded their world. Peach is in her castle, but we don't really know much about her current adventures. She presumably has the superstar. Remember, that was what Bowser was stealing in the beginning of the movie, and that's what Mario and Luigi ended up using to save uh, Brooklyn from Bowser.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong still presumably has his frenemy relationship with Mario, but they kind of bonded over their adventure, so he's already in play. Bowser was shrunk down and captured. He has a little mini piano that he can sing Peaches whenever he wants, but he also gets kind of poked at by the guards saying, "Hey, pipe down in there." And then, of course, we got the post-credit scene of the Yoshi egg down in the sewers. So, Wes, let's hear your idea.
I'm going big. I don't know how they're going to connect the ending of that movie to this necessarily, but it is basically a Mario Galaxy movie,
Ooh.
but different from the games in a way. It's kind of just using the space theme, not necessarily in the way that the games do. So Bowser has kidnapped a different universe's Peach, and that part is very important. And he's holding her at the center of the universe. So that's kind of typical Mario Galaxy. It's a different Peach because our Peach, as we know, would not be kidnapped by Bowser.
Wait. So we're starting with the multiverse on movie 2.
Oh yeah. We got to get to the Super Smash Bros. Movie as fast as possible, and I'm laying the groundwork here, okay? And I know multiverse is out right now. I know people are tired of it. Me too. But you know what? It turns out when you're trying to write a movie draft, which is what I did last night, it's a lot. It's very easy to just use the multiverse. I get it now, Hollywood. Um, so she's being held at the center of the universe. She briefly escapes and uses a special space power stuff. I don't know what, just special space stuff to open up a portal to our cast, our Super Mario Bros. Cast, and tell them that she needs help and what's up. Somehow the gang ends up in space and they meet Rosalina, who is, one of the oldest characters in not the Mushroom Kingdom, the Mushroom Galaxy. She will be voiced by Dolly Parton, and I'm
Dolly
serious.
Parton, okay.
Yes. I was going back and forth. So Rosalina is like very old, but she's, young looking, probably through magic, but she's like an old character. She's been around for a long time in the Mario universe. And I was looking at like actresses and stuff, and like, sure, Anya Taylor-Joy, who's already Peach, would probably be a good like Rosalina. I was thinking maybe like Hunter Schafer from Euphoria, maybe Elizabeth Olsen because she's really good at playing like witchy type characters. But I want to go big and get Dolly Parton. I think that she would have like the spunk and the attitude and the fun of Rosalina, and then also have like the wizened years of a character who's been around as long as Rosalina in the universe. I also really like Dolly Parton, and I think that she'd be game and she'd be fun at interviews and press junkets alongside Jack Black, for example. So Dolly Parton, which, excellent choice in my opinion. So they're with Rosalina. They're trying to figure out what they got to do, and they need to capture enough power stars to power their ship to reach Bowser, which is very much like Super Mario Galaxy. However, at each planet, there's a twist happening. It's not like the game. At each planet they land on, they realize it's a different Mario gang. So they might land on this planet and it's very Super Mario Bros. 3 inspired. And there's another Mario there, there's another Luigi, there's another Peach. And so they're working with different variations of themselves. There's a OG Mario planet, there's a Super Mario 3 planet, a Super Mario World planet. You could do whatever you want on these different planets. So basically, they collect star power from these planets. They work with different variations of themselves, which teaches them how to be better versions of themselves. Maybe they learn special moves. Super Mario World Mario teaches our Mario how to use a cape to fly, for example. And all these little learnings and lessons will be used in the final battle against Bowser. But yeah, so fast forward, they get enough star power. They go and save Peach with Bowser, blah, blah, blah. They can do whatever they want. That'll be fun. Another fight. He uses all the powers he's learned from these other Marios. And yeah, so the movie ends, and then there's two post-credit scenes, of course.
Oh, you've mapped out the post-credit scenes as well.
Oh, yes, yeah. This is the most fun part. So in the first post-credit scene, we cut back to the beginning of the movie when the different universe Peach is still captured. she's trying to get to our Mario. She's trying to get to a Mario to come save her. But one of the portals she opens accidentally opens into this weird fantasy land that looks very reminiscent of Hyrule.
Don't you
And
do it.
so, yeah, so we see that she opened a portal to Hyrule, quickly realized it was not a Mario land, and like backs out. Camera turns to Link, and he's like, what the heck's going on? I need to figure that out. Is that a threat to Zelda? So that's setting the stage for a either Zelda movie or Zelda to come searching for the Mario gang to then set up a Super Smash Bros. Movie one day.
I thought you were going to
Second,
go a different direction there with bringing in Ben Schwartz's Sonic.
oh, I could. That would work too. You could really put anybody here. I just want Zelda
Sure.
to be one of the first introductions to the expanded Mario universe. Second post credit scenes: Mario and the gang are chilling on a beach, joking about their recent journey. Just kind of hanging out. And the camera pans out, and we see that they are on Gelato Beach from Sunshine and a
Ah.
Pianta. Pianta, is that how you pronounce it? I forget the Sunshine guys.
Hmm.
We see one of them walk up and bring like a tray of drinks to Mario and the gang, and it's Danny DeVito as Pianta. So that's setting up another, perhaps a third Mario movie in Super Mario Sunshine type of world. But yeah, that's my Super Mario Galaxy movie.
All right. I'm about it. A multiverse, a little shaky for me, but I would watch that for
We
sure.
had It's unfortunate because multiverse stuff is getting old already, but we have to get to Super Smash Bros somehow. And I don't know, how are you going to mix mash Mario with Metal Gear Solid one day?
Hey, anything is possible. It could be like a Bowser spell. He has Kamek alongside
That's
him.
true. That's
It
true.
it could do portals to other worlds or whatever. And who says that these are all different universes? Maybe this is another warp pipe or something. Who
That's
knows?
true.
There's
Maybe
there's there's
Snake.
ways it
Maybe
could happen.
Snake lives in the same world that Mario comes from, the Brooklyn, since that's just the real world. Apparently,
Shadow
maybe
Moses is
over.
just part. It's just another borough of New York in Mario's world.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just I'm not a Hollywood writer. I don't get paid millions to write these things. Somebody else can do that. I would like royalties if this movie does get written. But yeah, I just want to get to Super Smash Bros. Because it's going to happen one day. It has to happen. Man, I just want to get there.
Yeah, so hopefully Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelinek, both former guests of all things Nintendo, are not listening to this episode because they might pick some of those things.
True, true. I'd
All
be
right,
fine with it.
so let's get to my ideas. I have four, two of which are fully fleshed out. Other ones are just conceptual. So I have a Galaxy one as well. Well, I'm going to start with my Yoshi's Island
Okay.
idea here. So at the end of the first movie, Mario and Luigi were leaving the Mushroom Kingdom on a plumbing call, right? That would like the
Yep.
Mr. Blue Sky's playing. They jump down the pipe, they grab their plumbing supplies, they walk through the sewers, and they find the Yoshi egg, which hatches. And Yoshi, who is played by either Tom Holland or Timothy Chalamet, I haven't decided, informs them of problems in his home of Dinosaur Land, or we could call it Cascade Kingdom to be relevant to Mario Odyssey. When Mario and Luigi arrive, they find that the problems are a result of Bowser Jr., played by either Tom Holland or Timothy Chalamet. I haven't decided.
Hmm.
And he is leading Bowser's army against the residents of Dinosaur Land. And meanwhile, back in the Mushroom Kingdom, Bowser's minions are infiltrating the castle to set Bowser free, kind of stealth mission here, and allow him to overthrow the castle. Peach escapes and must reach out to the neighboring kingdoms to help take back her kingdom, which brings back Donkey Kong and introduces Diddy Kong, who I don't know if I
Ooh.
should cast Diddy Kong because he already had a voice line in the first Mario movie when they were cheering for him and they were cheering for Donkey Kong in the arena after the DK rap. So he already has a voice. So I did not cast him because presumably they would just keep the same voice.
Fair.
So that also gives us a chance to introduce Pauline, who would be
Ooh.
played by Emma Stone, because you need somebody who can
Yeah.
sing.
You know what? That I was toying around with an idea that had Pauline, and Emma Stone was my choice as well. Maybe it's because
What?
she just won an Oscar and stuff, and
And
I've
she also
always been a
sings
big
in
fan of
La La
her.
Land.
Exactly, yeah. But I'm in the same headspace. I think she'd be a great Pauline.
So she is able to sing, which is crucial to Pauline at this point, post Odyssey, and
Yeah.
she's able to hint at a past with the Kong family because the DK, the original Donkey Kong game, and then Daisy is also able to be
Ooh.
introduced as another neighboring kingdom. Who do you have for Daisy? If I have somebody,
I don't know on the spot here.
I went Kristen
Um,
Bell.
that would be great. That would be perfect. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually really great because Daisy and Anna from Frozen are very much alike. I could see that. I like the vision.
So this does the trope of splitting up the group during the main segment of the movie, which I'm typically not a big fan of, but we would find some way to bring them all back together for the final battle, which would have Bowser and Bowser Jr. working together against this united group. And then the post-credit scene would have Bowser discovering the black sludge from Bowser's Fury, hinting that we might be getting Fury Bowser in the next movie.
Ooh, okay. So I respect it. You are more restrained than me. You're not barreling towards a team
No,
up
no, no. I'm,
movie
I'm
with
doing the
Super Smash
MCU, not
Bros.
the DCEU route, where it's like we got to rush to this. We gotta just take our or no taking our time. We just got to jump directly from solo movie to everybody is here. No,
That's fair. That's fair. That's
no. The
fair.
MCU is obviously the more successful approach here.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
slow build. All right. So my galaxy idea starts out with a loss. Okay, plumbing call Mario and Luigi. I keep playing off this plumbing call. That's just like, hey, this is like starting up right where that movie ended.
Yeah,
Turns
yeah.
out to be a trap set by Bowser's minions. They capture Mario and Luigi, and then, similar to my other pitch, a covert group led by the Koopalings
Ooh.
infiltrate Peach's castle, free Bowser. He escapes and destroys Bowser or Peach's castle after a big action set piece moment. Bowser tries to capture Peach in order to get her to marry him, but she escapes to New Donk City, where she sits down
Ooh.
with the other rulers, Pauline, Daisy, and the newly crowned Donkey Kong, which is a creative way of getting rid of Fred Armisen's annoying Cranky Kong performance.
Yeah.
And then from there, Bowser joins the group that captured Mario and Luigi. And after a little bit of Jack Black doing his thing, Bowser decides to get rid of Mario and Luigi once and for all. He loads them up into a DK barrel that his army stole, blasts them into space, and you presume that's it for them because they're in space. But Rosalina, played by Margot Robbie, saves them.
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good one.
They ask her to help take the Mushroom Kingdom back, but Rosalina says that she has problems of her own because when the giant bullet bill exploded at the end of the first movie, it sent a bunch of Bowser's minions out into space, and they've been wreaking havoc up in space ever since. So Mario and Luigi go on this journey to help Rosalina, which, they can do all kinds of fun visual effects. And then Mario, Luigi, and Rosalina return to the Mushroom Kingdom and fight Bowser. And this also gives us the chance to see the return of the morbid Luma that everybody loved so much from the first one.
Yeah. Good
So
call.
no post-credit scene for me this time, but I do have two more pitches here.
Hold
These
on,
are
listeners, and let us know which Rosalina you'd be more excited about, Margot
Dolly Parton or
Robbie
Margot
or
Robbie.
Dolly Parton.
We went very different directions on that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Luigi's Mansion is like I said,
Oh, I didn't even. God, that's so good.
there were
Already, yeah,
no indications that this is going to be a direct sequel. So I have two pitches that are spin-offs here.
yeah,
So they already set the tables for this in the early parts, but King Boo, upset about Bowser being captured, because after all, he was at Bowser's wedding, if you recall,
yeah,
captures Mario, Peach, Donkey Kong, and all the Toads who were at a ceremony celebrating Bowser's defeat. Luigi, who slept in that day because that seems in character for Luigi, awakens to a completely empty Mushroom Kingdom, soon learns what has happened, and goes on a quest to save them in King Boo's haunted mansion. So short and sweet on that one. And
I
then
like it.
my fourth and final pitch here, Donkey Kong Country. And I don't have
Yeah,
a ton of details for this, but stories centered around Donkey Kong and his crew would be amazing to see that get built out. Maybe King K. Rool steals the banana horde the way he did in the first Donkey Kong Country, steals the Kong throne. You can have Mario and like all of his friends in this, but the story would be largely focused on the Kong army,
yeah,
with the Mario characters more or less serving kind of like the side, but also kind of main role that DK did in the first Mario movie. So it would be kind of like flip flopped, where like the Mario characters are kind of off to the side, but still like present. So, not a whole lot of details that we could go to there, but there's some cool stuff they could do in the world of Donkey Kong, and especially if they follow like all the Donkey Kong Country characters. A lot of fun characters that they could explore there, especially giving Diddy Kong a more prominent role in that. Which one of these would you be most interested in seeing, Wes?
Um, Probably the Luigi's Mansion, to be honest,
Really?
because only because I really want that movie. I think it'd be great, and I did forget that they when I was thinking of ideas, I was like direct sequel type stuff.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, remembering that Miyamoto said it's just another movie in this universe that kind of greatly expands it. And I even after watching the first movie, I was like, all right, it's time for a Luigi's Mansion movie. They kind of showed us a glimpse of what it'd be like in the first movie.
Yeah.
And I'd really like that. I also want a Galaxy movie in general, just because it would be so awesome and pretty and the music and all that. But yeah, I think Luigi's Mansion is probably the one I'd pick. I also think it's probably the tied with the most likely. I think of the two we're willing to see, I actually think this next movie could be either a Donkey Kong or a Luigi centered movie before a full on sequel.
Yeah. I mean, I think Luigi's Mansion is the most likely, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
Luigi was kind of off to the side this entire first movie, right? Like he
Hmm.
was the captured character. It wasn't Peach this time around. So to kind of flip the script, have him step into the starring role, still have all those characters in the movie, but like kind of not the ones on the adventure, more so the ones that need to be rescued, could have some fun elements to it, and also give Luigi kind of the spotlight that he didn't really get in the first movie. I mean, he was
Yeah.
obviously there for the conclusion and the big climax battle in Brooklyn, and he was just as involved in taking down Bowser as Mario was, but he spent a lot of that time in a cage.
Yeah. Being scared. So we know he's a good scaredy cat. And I think Charlie Day, I think he would sell a very terrified Luigi's Mansion Luigi very well.
I agree. I would like to see that, but I also would hate to see so much of the cast pushed off to the side.
Yeah, that's the thing. It would They would probably be in the beginning and maybe the end, but it would just be a Luigi movie. But I think, I mean, to your MCU idea, I think that's kind of important to fleshing out a universe that eventually builds towards this massive thing. Like we do need to get a Luigi movie. We probably do need a Princess Peach spin-off movie. Although I guess she kind of was a main protagonist in the first one, but I would like a Peach movie. A Donkey Kong movie is absolutely going to happen. Yeah, I think if they are taking the MCU approach, it's important to if Mario's the Avengers, then yeah, we need our Captain Americas, we need our Thors and our Iron Mans.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to whatever it ends up being. I think it's going to be a while before we have any real details on what Nintendo and Illumination are actually doing with this.
Yeah.
But as Miyamoto said, he'll let us know when they're ready to share.
Thanks, Miyamoto.
But Wes, thank you so much for joining me for this episode of All Things Nintendo.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This was fun. I like any opportunity I can put Dolly Parton in a movie. I'm excited.
I can't wait to get your casting for her in the Zelda movie. All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone for listening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, throw All Things Nintendo a 5-star review and hit that subscribe button. If you want to get any questions or comments in, you can get in touch with me at allthingsnintendo@GameInformer.com or hit me up on social media at Brian P. Shea. You can also join the Game Informer community Discord, which is a perk for subscribing to our Twitch channel, even for just 1 month. Wes, tell people about your social media presence.
You can find me on Twitter at LeBlancWest. You can find me on Instagram at I am Wesley. And I'm also on Threads and Blue Sky and all the other stuff at just my name, Wesley LeBlanc. Of course, you should check out GameInformer.com and Game Informer's YouTube channel and read our magazine to see my written work, which is the stuff I'm most proud of. My tweets, I don't care about. My writing, I care about a lot, and I like it. So you should check that stuff out before you check out my social media.
Yes, you should. And that is our show for this week. Thank you all again so much for listening. Take care. We'll see you next time.